Welcome, ghouls, demons, and fellow weird ones. And we are here for yet another weird story time. So we're going to talk about what weird healing is. So that is where I revamped my spiritual services. So it's been a roller coaster of trying to figure out, I'm someone who's offering spiritual services in this way. How am I offering my spiritual services? What am I supposed to do? Because not every spiritual person is supposed to be of spiritual service. It's perfectly okay if you do your spiritual gifts just for you, and you use them to do things in other ways. It depends on who you are and what your calling is, and not everyone has the same calling. And I feel like I was guilty of it. We all fall into the trap of, well, we have to be a tarot reader, we have to be this, we have to be that, and what is it? So it's like, well, I love doing tarot readings. I love incorporating tarot into the things that I do. I love incorporating astrology into the things I do. I love the birth chart readings. I love being of service, and I love healing. And so how do I do this? Well, to even backtrack even further into my background, I think that's why I got into occupational therapy, because I always wanted to be a writer, and that's my dream. That is my completely selfish, has nothing to do with anyone else dream. I want to be a writer. And you could say my candles are in there. You could say me being an artist is kind of tied into all that. But whatever it is that I create, I just want to create. And I don't want to care what anyone thinks about it. I don't care if people like it. But especially writing, I could just write story after story after story all day long, every day. And I would be perfectly fine. But I can't deny all of the wisdom I have received, have experienced through all the things that I teach myself, because I'm also just genuinely curious about everything in the world. I just want to learn everything all the time. And so how do I do everything that I want to do? How do I be everything that I want to be? And how do I give it back to society? How do I give it back to the universe? Because I think that's what like a career or a job is supposed to be. You ultimately, to an extent, in a way, need to be a contributing member to society. And I think that we have it fucked up in how we have it organized. And I think it's because a lot of people lost sight of their purpose because they're too busy being controlled and manipulated into what someone else thinks they should be. They're constantly having their purpose, their energy, their soul, their spirit siphoned to fuel someone else's dreams or ambitions. And you can take that however you want. Literally, metaphorically, you see it in so many different themes. And so, I've done candles. I started with candles. That's exactly how my business started. It started with candles, and it brought me back to my true dream of being a writer, and it really bridged all of that. And then it's like, well, how do I want to be a writer? And it's like, well, I just want to write. Like, I can do so many different things. And that's where you have my fairy tales, my fables, my poetry, my short stories, my narratives, my this, my that, my blah, 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 blah. I could just write and write and write. I could be on a computer, I could be on a typewriter 24/7. And that is me. But that's my expertise. If I had to pick, Riley asked me this. He asked me if I had to pick one thing in the whole world, and it's been eating at me because it's like, well, I don't want to pick one thing in the whole world, and that's what the fig tree, the Sylvia Plath, the fig tree, and you see that mirror in my poetry. It's like I feel torn between trying to choose like these one things, and I don't think we're meant to pick one thing, and I think our society is built to only really give us time for one thing, and I think that could be because of the way things were. It took a lot longer to do things, where nowadays you can learn faster, do things, like everything seems to be a little bit faster. We've picked up the pace, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think we're on a new rhythm, right? A new frequency, right? That's like what that would represent. And so we can let go of being an expert, and we can have people who are an expert in multiple things, or certain levels of expert. And I do think that we need to be able to categorize that. It's very similar to how you have a black belt from a white belt. And I think that that's necessary. And so it's like, what kind of expert do I want to be? Well, I would think my writing would show that I am an expert at writing. I've been writing since I was 9. Very strong storyteller in a variety of mediums. I'm confident of me as a writer. but I also wanted to do this and I wanted to do that, and I didn't want to niche down too hard. Especially like just doing candles, that's really hard to make a living off of. And it's like, but I'm also worth so much more. Like I can do so much more than just candles. And it's like, well, I don't want to limit myself. I want to reach my potential, but this is exhausting. Like just doing candles is enough. Just doing writing is enough. Just doing one thing is more than enough. But it also wasn't more than enough because I didn't feel like I was reaching my potential. And so then it felt like I was just going through all of these constant cycles of fear of not reaching my potential, and then having to heal where all of that came from. Taking my time, making sure I break things up to where I get to do everything that I want to do, and incorporate all the things. Because, like, well, for me to do a birth chart reading, I had to charge $500. It took me a full week to almost 2 weeks worth of work, depending on how things went. But it was a lot of effort. And I mean, it wasn't just like a simple birth chart reading. Like people who got them in that written medium, it was 50 plus pages of detailed work, and then talking to the person and clarifying things, and it was a whole experience. And so I was like, you gotta pay for my time, because like it has to, well, is there an easier way that you can do this? Yeah, no, not to this depth. Not like, so then how do you do it? It's like, well, people are like, well, because that's like a one-time service. That was a one-time birth chart soul story is what I called them. And you got the whole enchilada, and then you could digest it and break it down and apply it in a way that you saw fit. Well, that was too overwhelming to people, because I like to give people the whole pie. And that, oh my gosh, sorry, I just had a flashback to me at the hospital. I had this a manager at Beaumont Hospital in Grosse Pointe tell me this. Sarah, we understand you love to give people all the information. You love to give the whole pie. That can be overwhelming to people. So now we're coming full circle from 2018, 2019. So how do I make it less overwhelming for people? Same with the tarot readings, because I would do a full spread, give them the full message, and I would write out like 6 to 12 pages and really explain the tarot reading to them. And people don't always want that. Not everyone wants that. Some people do. So then I got rid of the services, because it's like, well, I can't, don't come to me. If you don't want what I have to offer, get the fuck away from me. And I was really irritated about it, because like, why come to me for help and then get mad at me for the help that I gave you? And there are lessons in that in itself. But it was also like, well, how can you offer it? How can you offer it in a way that gives people what they need, but like an invitation? So how do you invite people into receiving the information? And so I trialed it out with Courtney, Riley's sister. And we did a FaceTime. Because I was like, listen, I gotta change how I'm doing these birth charts. I gotta change how I'm doing this, but I still want to offer it to you. Can we just do a FaceTime? Can we have a chit chat? Because I like the one-on-one and being present and really, but like I feel like people need to guide me, or else I'm gonna drown you. If you don't give me specific parameters, I will flood you. Because I don't know, that's just me. That's who I am. And so people need to. I'm the guide, but people need to guide the guide, so I know where to channel or direct the energy or the information or whatever it is, because I was like, well, you want me to answer your question, but it's so layered. Where do you want me to go? Where do you want me to start? Most people don't know. So it's like, well, let's start from the beginning, but then it just becomes a lot. So through the FaceTime, so I was able to see the whole picture of the birth chart, and I was able to look at it, and then Courtney was able to ask me more direct questions, and then we were able to kind of go from there and bridge like a really nice conversation. I gave her what she needed, nothing more, nothing less, and then if she needs more, she can contact me, we can have another session. So I was like, okay, that worked really well. So I want to offer that with everything that I have to offer. Well, but how do I do that? Well, so now I have what I call Wyrd Healing, and it's on my website. And you book an appointment. The days are Tuesday through Thursday. I think it's 12 to 5, but it's because you pick different time slots. So you can do 45 minutes, an hour and a half, or I believe it might be up to 2.5 hours. And different price points for each, but you book my time. And then we can do a tarot reading. We can do the birth chart reading. You can ask me any spiritual guidance questions. If like you just want to learn from me, it could be about, one thing that's common is glamour magic. Or do you want me to teach you about tarot? What do you want me to teach? So you book my time and you fill out a little form or like a blurb. You let me know exactly what you're wanting. And then we have a meeting or an appointment for that time, and you get what you want out of that time, and I'll make sure it's worth the value. Because I have a lot to offer, and just let me know what it is that you want me to offer. Some feedback that came back is it's like, well, how can you organize it so people aren't just having open-ended blurbs with you? It's like, well, I haven't figured out how to do that. I have variation by time. I haven't figured out how to do variation where you click tarot, birth chart, or spiritual knowledge, whatever it is. I haven't figured out how to maybe make that better. But for now, I hope it's explained good enough that people can just kind of guide me on what it is that they want. And again, the time frame just will vary how in-depth we go or by budget. But then that's me giving people a slice of the pie. And when they are ready for another slice, they can book another appointment. And so I don't want to do healthcare revolving door. That's another thing. I think I was really trying to avoid being a revolving door. I want to teach people to be independent. I don't want them to come back to me unless they need it. I don't want people to come dependent on me. That is my occupational therapy background and my fear of what I noticed in the healthcare community or profession here in America, and so I think that's why I was giving people so much information, because I was like, you are not going to become dependent on me. One, triggered my parent wounds for a variety of reasons, my independent eldest daughter wound. I don't want to parent anybody. I want to teach people, and I want people to flourish and blossom of their own accord. I want them to be strong individuals, just as strong of an individual as I am. I want that for everybody. And I think if we have a world of strong, interconnected individuals, we will have a stable collective in a nutshell. So, like I said, I don't want to be a revolving door. I definitely want to promote term stable healing. I don't want to just bandage things. I want to do some deep inner work. And so that is my intention for the Wyrd healing and booking a service with me. And like I said, it's open-ended to whatever medium it is that you want. If you're wanting some ancestor healing, we can do some ancestor work. I'm expanding the mediumship side of things and understanding those gifts and skill sets. But there's a lot that I have to offer. So reach out and ask me questions before you book if you're unsure, or book the time and give me a little blurb and we can go from there. It is by time and budget by time. It's very similar to how I do my candles and all of those things. It's budget tier, and then I will make sure to give you all of the value as I possibly can in that time frame. So that is Wyrd healing, and that's the transformation of the tarot and the birth chart readings and other unconventional teachings. I look forward to working with whoever is aligned and interested, and if you guys have any questions, please comment and let me know and I will try to clarify. So yeah, thank you.